Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Making the Complex Simple. I'm your host, Morgan Whalen, and this is a podcast all about where I take you through my last week or so in my business journey, my entrepreneurship journey. And I tell you kind of the mistakes I made. And the whole goal is to impart the lesson onto you without actually having to go through the failure or get the scars yourself. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. And we got a wide variety of things we're going to talk about. We'll go ahead and look at YouTube a little bit today. We're going to look at some nurturing and with some leads, what type of content you could be making, and a couple other goodies. So buckle up. We're going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing I want to start on is not necessarily, well, it is business related. Most people, and this is not just in business ownership, but in general, most people don't lack knowledge. Everyone knows, okay, I need to eat more of this. I need to eat less of this. I need to work out this much a day. I don't need to, sit on the couch and binge watch all day. And so people understand generally, like, okay, directionally, maybe there might be some even better ways to do it as you get more into, let's say, working out or eating healthy. But generally, they know I need to be doing more of this and doing less of that. But a lot of people, although they know that, don't ever make the change. And so I think it comes down to really three things, which is discipline, consistency, and accountability. And so the discipline comes in when you lack motivation. So anything's easy when you have motivation. When you're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm feeling great. Yeah, I have the energy. That's a lot easier to follow through on that. But it's on the days when you're like, oh man, I don't feel like getting up. Oh man, I'm tired. I don't want to go another sprint up the hill, whatever it is. And so it's the ability to say, no, we've committed to this thing. We're going to do it anyways. Oh, well, it got hard, or meaning I no longer have the motivation. So I'm going to stop doing it. So I think that's the first part, which is just having the discipline to, keep your word on something that you're going to do, or to set a goal and go after the goal. And then the second part is consistency, which it goes hand in hand with discipline. So it's doing the thing every single day. So I'm a very big believer in, like, what is your daily habits? Because your daily habits stack to your weekly stack to your monthly things. And right now in my company, we're going back over the book, and I've read this book multiple times, but we're going over the book Extreme Ownership. And so there was a line from that book, which I thought is great, especially applicable to business owners, which it says this: if someone isn't doing what you want or need them to do, look in the mirror first and determine what you can do better to enable this. So as the leader, it always falls back on you, that accountability piece. Where I think things go astray is, like, if you're the leader and say, no, that's your fault. I gave you this thing to do and you didn't do it. Well, did you communicate to them exactly what you wanted? Did you teach them the skills if they didn't already have the skills? Did you have them repeat it back to you so there was no miscommunication between what you said and what they heard and interpreted? So you can see how there's, like, all these little kinks in the chain that could happen to cause things to go not the way you want them to. And so it's looking as the leader of, like, okay, I need to take accountability for everyone on my team. Everyone on my team is a representation of me. So how can I improve over time, and how can we get better as a team over time? How can I take accountability for our failures and then make sure they don't happen again? So I just I think it's a very strong lens to take on. It's a lot of responsibility to take on as a business owner, but I think it makes it so much easier to then make progress. But when you're pointing to other people, or you're blaming other things, it's really hard to improve when you're doing that. And so when you could just take ownership of it and take accountability, what, I messed up, and then you say, okay, what can I do better next time? Now you're on a path to improvement. And so I just look at it that way. It's like always looking at whatever it is that you're going through, no matter if it's good or bad, is like it's a learning experience to get you to where you want to go. Wherever the goal and direction, right, the mission of the company and the goals that you have, maybe for the week, the month, the quarter, it's constantly looking at those things and say, okay, how can we improve this week as opposed to last week? How can I get better as a leader to my team? And so then that way they are taking ownership of their processes and their KPIs, or whatever it is that they're doing in the business, to help us drive towards our goals that we have in our mission, why we're doing what we're doing. So that was the first part. I think, again, I just look out and I just see that these characteristics are usually lacking a lot of times. And I think all those three things, if you have more discipline, if you have more consistency, if you have more accountability, it's only going to allow you to get to where you want to go quicker. And I think that's a good gauge of determining what are good characteristics. Like if they want to get you towards your goals quicker, of what you feel like is exciting for you, what you feel like is meaningful for you, what you feel like is a worthy goal, or why you're doing what you're doing, then I think more better to learn how to adopt these characteristics, how to embody these characteristics, so then that way you can move farther faster. So there's that. The second thing that I wanted to talk about was YouTube, because I haven't talked about YouTube in a few weeks, and so why not? So it's been a bumpy ride. So I remember in the beginning of YouTube, my YouTube journey started at the beginning of this year. So I'm on month 6, I guess technically June 6, yeah. So on month 6, and so month 1 was like a terrible month. Posted stuff, didn't really get a lot of views. Second month, I was like, okay, what can I do to improve this? And right, so I'm talking long form and short form, because I posted both on YouTube. And so for short form, I figured out, and I have it back in an older podcast episode, but essentially, like if you change the titles, you might be able to get more people to view, or YouTube to serve your shorts or your longs in front of more people. And so that worked for a little bit, but then it kind of fell off. So I haven't really gone back to it, to like tweaking every single video that I publish, to then see, okay, that didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work. Okay, now I got a title that works. Now it's serving it to a bunch of people. But if you do that, then your content's only going to be served for a little bit. Like you can trick the system or the algorithm in a way for a little bit. But if your content isn't good, meaning people swipe away, they don't stay for the full video, or if they do down thumbs, because you could do down thumbs on YouTube, then YouTube will stop showing your content. So if people don't click, YouTube will stop showing your content. If people don't watch the whole video or get retained for a long period of time, retention rate, they'll won't show your video or push your video. And if they down thumb your video, then obviously they won't show your video. So it goes back to the same things I've learned before, which is, you need to change the title, change the thumbnail more often. So the last couple videos I've been posting, I really wasn't doing it, right? For the last maybe 2 or 3 months, call it. I wasn't really as dedicated to like, okay, update the title. Okay, it didn't work for a few hours, update the title again. Okay, it didn't work for a few hours, update the title again, until you could see the reach go up on the chart. But I did it for this last video, and I would give it usually like a day, like maybe 12 hours if you're really aggressive, but I'd give it a full day, right? If you're changing a title or a thumbnail, and then see, okay, am I getting more reach? And then if you are getting more reach, okay, great. Then you're using titles or words that are more trendy, or what YouTube's going to push more. And then if you get the more reach, but then no one clicks through, then that means your thumbnail wasn't good enough, or the little preview that they get, which is the first like 15 to 30 seconds of your video, wasn't good enough to grab their attention and be like, this is worth my time. Because you got to think about it again. You're competing against people that spend thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes for YouTube videos. And you're competing with people who have been on the platform for 5 years, 10 years. And I don't know how long YouTube's been around, but I know more than 10 years probably now. So then they've already built that relationship with a lot of people. So you're competing against all of that when you start making videos. And so you really have to create things that are unique, compelling, and you got to test out a lot of different options before something will work and traction will hit. So this last video I did, I just changed the title for, I think, the 3rd time. And today it's actually starting to gain traction. I could see more views on the video than I usually do in a short period of time. So that takes me back to a lesson I've already learned, and I'm having to relearn, which is you got to keep on testing titles over and over and over again if you want YouTube to work for you. And it's just part of the nature of the platform, it seems like. So titles and thumbnails over and over and over again. Just get used to building that into your process if you're trying to build out your YouTube channel. So one of the things I'm going to skip down to is, if you are going to make YouTube videos for your business or for your personal brand, or you're going to make shorts, whatever it is, content of any type, and you're doing it for a business, then what type of content should you make? That's a great question that I think a lot of people might be asking. And one of the things that might be tempting is to see what's working and just say, okay, I'm going to make the same content as other people, but they may be optimizing for something different than what you want. So if you're a business owner, what you should be optimizing for is how do I get people to watch my video that are the people that I want to work with and that will eventually want to buy from me, right? So how does this video, how does this content turn into revenue? Like that's the question that you should be asking yourself as you're doing this. And so like one of the things you can do, and I think this would be very helpful, is to think about who you want to work with, whether that be consumers, business owners, dads, moms, whatever your avatar is, and think like, what are their problems that they're dealing with, and how can I solve their problems? So it kind of goes back to the same concepts I've talked about in other podcast episodes, but it's thinking about problems that they have and how can you solve for them. And obviously you want to try to align it like with things that you're interested in. So if ideally you like the topic, you're solving problems for other people, and it's a win-win because you get energized by making more content. Now, if it's a small problem, micro problem that you can explain in 90 seconds or less, then you would want to make that more of a short. So let's just say that you sell mattresses. And so you might make a small short clip about how to improve your quality of sleep. And it's like, you can do these 3 things. And you know what, out of all of them, your mattress is probably the biggest determinant of how you get better sleep, right? Or the quality of your mattress, right? And so you could solve a micro problem really quick. And then people be like, oh, I didn't know that. And then you can, kind of introduce your products as you're explaining it. So micro problems, 90 seconds left or less, you could just do it as short. Now, if there was a macro problem, or more likely many micro problems that you're solving that you want to solve for, then that's when you do something like a YouTube video. So anything past, I'd call it 7 to 8 minutes that would take for you to explain, then I would just make it a YouTube video. And obviously you got to know who your avatar is. Do they like short form? Do they like long form? And, how long it will actually be, like once you lay out all the things that you want to cover for content wise. And, I think over time too, like what I've been trying to do with my YouTube videos is how do I get more value per minute or value per second? So, if they have to go look up all this research and do all these things outside of the video, then it's not as is value add for them as if I did all the research for them, right? So if I can show articles or clips or numbers or statistics, or these things, pull it all together for them, so it's not just me talking, and I have data to back up what I'm saying, and it again solves their problem at the same time, then be like, wow, okay, this person provided the research, this person provided the numbers, and made a compelling argument for why I may be having this problem. What's the best way to solve it? So it's literally like you're doing like little mini research papers when you're making a YouTube video, at least if you're doing it the way that I'm doing it, which is more educational content. So it really just depends on what you're making, but think about small problems or bigger problems or many small problems that you can make. And then that's either your short form or your longer form content. Another thing that you can go into is your values. So Steve Jobs said this, and I have this quote down. Marketing is about values. It's a complicated and noisy world, and we're not going to get a chance to get people to remember much about us. No company is. So we have to be really clear about what we want them to know about us. So another angle that you could take with the content that you make is about your values. Apple is still, I think, the second biggest company in the world by market cap today. And they got there by marketing based off their values. And so if you know what your company values are, you can infuse that into the content that you're making. So I think that's a really good concept or thing that you can think about as you're making content that can make you stand out or be unique in a marketplace that's just getting more and more crowded with people. And so the third thing is, stories. And so if you have a good story, that's going to do very, very well on whatever platform you're making it for. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. I've seen those work very well. And I'm going to give you the 3 layers that I see. So there's 3 types of stories or 3 layers of stories you can tell. One is a personal story. It's about you. It's about something that you struggled with, that you overcame, or something that you learned, right? The stumbles that you had. 2 is if you are a business, it could be the success of your clients. Hey, they came to us, they had this issue, or you might pull out specific problems that they had and how you solved it for them, right? Going back to the solving small problems for the customers that you want to have. The third thing is, you want to leverage authority. So I made a video recently, and it was from my last podcast episode that I did a clip, and it got like 3,500 views on Instagram and another 3,000, 3,500 on TikTok. And the reason why it did so good is because I leveraged authority and I told a story around a marketing principle, right? And so when you can leverage other people who are famous and say, oh, wow, this is what they did, then it makes it a lot easier, more compelling. People want to hear the story. So, for example, I on my finance channel, I talk about, one of the videos I did recently, I talked about pricing and I talked about memberships and all that kind of stuff. Now, if I just talked about the concept of a membership, that wouldn't be as compelling. More people would just skip over that, blah, who cares? But if I said something about, a famous company that most people would recognize and how they leveraged memberships to increase their profits by da 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 da, right? Whatever the hook would be, then that's going to get more people to want to watch because it may be relatable or applicable to them or what they can take away to learn for their business or how they can implement in their business. So, in that example, it would be like Costco, right? So Costco sells things pretty much at the cost that they get it for, but then they make all of their profit or majority of their profit just based off of the membership. So if you could tie in real world examples with well-known people or well-known brands, then it'll be easier for you to again make content that will naturally get more views and hopefully tie into getting more of your avatar, more of your customer to watch. So those are three things that you can do: solve problems, talk more about your values, which differentiate you in the marketplace, and then the three levels of stories, which is again personal stories about your clients or past success or things that you've solved or helped people solve, and then leveraging other people's authority. So the next thing that I want to talk about was once you start getting people interested in what you do and they take steps toward you, right? They become leads. So I'm defining lead as like they took a step toward you, they gave you a way to contact them. Now there's different levels that these leads can be at. Some people are like, I am hurting, I need help right now. When can we start? And there's other people who are much more long term. They're like, well, I don't know, I got to think about it. I got to ask my wife, I got to ask my neighbor, I got to pray to, whoever. And, they take way, way, way longer, or they have a long time before they're like, okay, I'm ready to take that next step. So timing is a huge part of the lead process. And so anyone who's done sales and marketing for a while, this is common knowledge, right? But where I think a lot of people go wrong is they don't have a long-term value sequence set up for the people who aren't ready right now. So what happens is they enter your channel, however it is that they, enter your ecosystem, your world. But if they say, hey, I'm not ready right now, or, now doesn't feel like the right time, right? They give you a, time delay objection, which is sales. You need to have somewhere where you can point them for like a long-term nurture. And so this could be YouTube. If you're putting out a long form video every week, you could then say, hey, go check out my YouTube channel. I'm constantly putting out like the latest things that I'm learning or what I'm helping my clients with on there. And so if you're not ready, then just go watch that, consume it, and get all this value, right? And then that way you don't have to pay me. You get the value, win-win. Okay. Other options that you have available to you. A lot of people are doing communities now. So communities are a way where people interact with others or your team or you, if you're a small business, and you help answer their questions. You may jump on a live with them, and then that's a way to nurture them as well. So you're serving maybe one to many, or one of your team members is serving one to many, everyone in the community. And then, as they're ready, as they get nurtured more and they feel like, okay, I'm now ready, I feel comfortable to make the move, then you're available to jump on the call again and say, okay, let's move forward. Okay, another one is email. So out of all the ones that I do, I obviously do YouTube, but I also do email. And so once a week, I'll send out an email. Now, it doesn't take up that much of my time. I write something that hopefully someone can read in 60 seconds or less, and it's a valuable tip to help them in their business become more profitable. And so That's a way to have a long-term nurture. So if you're seeing an email from me once a week and every week you're getting value from me once a week on an email, then that's just another platform, another way to communicate with the people that you want to work with eventually. So they may be on YouTube, they may be on social media, they may be on email, they may be on whatever, right? SMS, blogs, whatever their method is, you want to hopefully, have something there for them so they can consume it, feel like it was a really good value add for them. And for me, like, I want them to be able to apply the things that I'm telling them instantly to get profit in their business. Why? Because if they get profit in their business, they're like, wow, this company is doing a great job. I wonder if I work with them, what they're going to be able to help me with, because they're already giving me gems. So that's the way I think about it. And the other one that you do is, like, let's say you get leads off a list, you call them, and they're like, hey, I'm not ready. Okay, so then what do you do there? So you can either call them back up every so often. So you have a list. So, hey, every 30 days, I'm going to recall, touch back in with them, see how things are going, if they're ready to move forward again. Or you can grab their email, again, put them into a email sequence that you have that you're writing. Maybe, again, you don't have to do once a week. You can do once a week, once a month, whatever your cadence is. You could send them over to something, right? You need to send them over to something to keep them engaged with your brand. Because if you just say, oh, okay, they're not ready, click, that's it, and you just follow up once a quarter, well, then they're just thinking, oh, they're just waiting for me to say yes so they can get a sale. No, you want to figure out a way to continue to add value to them. And here's the thing, you want to continue to add value without expecting anything in return. That's where the gold is. You give and you give and you give. You plant the seed, you plant the seed, you plant the seed, and you water it, you tend to it, you make sure the sunlight is hitting it right, they got the right nutrients in the ground and the soil. And you just keep on doing that. And eventually, some of those seeds will sprout. Other of them may not. Other of them may be like, thank you, and they never want to work with you. That's the nature of business. So you have to have a way to follow up with them. So if you're one that usually like door knocks or goes door phone call, if you have another way to contact them, that would be great, right? So if you have their email, then I would send them an email. If you have, well, maybe just their phone number because you called them, then send them a text message once a month or once a quarter. Hey, like, let's say you do construction, or no, let's say you do solar, right? And so you have these people that you've called, or door knocked. Any of them who are interested, let's say the door knocking example, because that's usually what happens with solar. Any of them who are interested but not ready to purchase, I would write down their address, their name. I would take notes about what we talked about. And then literally every, you set the cadence, anywhere between 30 days to 90 days, I would be sending them something in the mail saying, hey, did you know you could be saving this much on solar? Hey, there's this new legislation that came out. Like, literally 30, 60, 90 days, somewhere in that cycle. You probably know your avatar better than I do. You would keep on touching base with them, and more ways the better. And so if I'm going to go another level here. So let's just say you do that door knock, they say no, but you get their information, they were interested. You may have done the pitch, but they weren't ready. Maybe the cost was a little bit too much. Okay, you send them a handwritten card the first time. Then you send them an infographic about how solar is going to save them money and the new legislation that came out. Okay, on that infographic, what you could do too is just put a little QR code. They could scan it, they go to your website. Now you can start tracking them online, right? And so the last one I would say is like retargeting with ads. So if you're running ads to your website, if you're running, if people click Google search if people Google search your business address or your business name, and they click on your link and they go to your website, or you send them a card in the mail and it has a QR code and they scan it and they go to your website, guess what? Now you can retarget them if you know how to run ads. So that could be on Meta, that could be on TikTok, that could be on Google, that could be on LinkedIn, wherever they are. Now you are in more places, constantly reminding them. And in those ads, again, you'd want to be giving value. So for me, my method is, okay, if you're going to retarget them, give them something for free that's helpful, solves their problems, hopefully gets them more money or makes something easier for them or saves them time, whatever it is. And then you continue to work that and nurture that relationship. So the whole idea here is to constantly have something for them whatever method that you want to continue to nurture the relationship. And so at a minimum, if you did the door knocking and it didn't work, but you may not have their phone number, but you have their address. Or if you did get a sit down and you talked to them and you went through the whole pitch and they didn't convert, then you may have their phone number, you may have their names, and then you have more ways to contact them. But again, I always go back to, you never want to be pushy, you never want to be spammy, you never want to be like, hey, are you ready to do it now? Hey, are you ready to do it now? Like, it just doesn't come across very well. And most people won't want to work with you if you're always trying to push for a sale. Again, my mentality is just always give. And then eventually some people will be like, hey, you know what? You've given so much. Let's work together. Screw it. You've helped me so much. Let's work together. Okay. So there's that one. And I think it's just super, super important you find something for you. If it's emails, it may not take you that long to write an email. There's AI. It can do the research for you. You can pull up you can add your twist to it, your own thoughts, because you still want it to be you. You still want it to be high quality. But I mean, it won't take that long. And then you'd be able to set up another touch point for people to contact or to get value from you. That's the whole goal. Top of mind, continually adding value. That's the association you want to build. That's how you build a brand, actually. So a brand is just, when I think of a brand like Apple logo, like we talked about earlier, what do I think about? Well, I think about innovative. I think about design. I think about Steve Jobs. Like, there's certain things that your mind will then trigger instantly, like quick associations with something. So you got to figure out like what associations you want with your brand. And so for me, I always want to be considered of, man, he's always giving. The brand's always giving. They're always giving value. They're always giving insights. They're always exceeding expectations on whatever it is. Like, they're always upping their game. And so that's one association. There's multiple I want to build, but that's one association I want to have. Like, they're always giving. They're always leading with that first. And so if you do that, I think, again, you're going to have a more likely chance of people wanting to work with you down the line. So figure out what it is that you want to be associated with, and then, put your brand with that. And so I think, again, long-term nurturing, I think a lot of people aren't there, or they don't put enough effort into it. Like, if they do write an email, then they hire someone, a copywriter, to do it for them. Okay, how much value is that going to be to these leads who are getting spammed all the time with all these emails, right? You got to figure out a way to be unique. You got to be able to give away your gems, the things that would hurt you. You're like, oh, this is my best one. This is my best thing that I've learned after 10 years in this industry. I don't want to give that away. Well, give it away. Some people will very much appreciate it, and you're going to help a lot of people. And the ones that do want to work with you are going to be like, wow, this person's so giving, right? So there's that. And then the last one I want to talk about, number 5, has to do with something in marketing. It's called attribution tracking. So if you're not familiar with that term, it just means tracking in a way like looking at the data across multiple stages of a journey. So for me, right, I run ads to a landing page. Landing page then goes to a scheduler, meaning they can book a call with me and my team if they want to. And then from there, there's a thank you page. So those 3 steps. The thing is, like for me, I put my conversion tracking from Meta, meaning what I consider a conversion for Meta to optimize for. Hey, get me people who do this action, right? I put it all the way at the thank you page. So then they hit the ad, go to the landing page, which is the first page. And then if they fill out the information and make it to the second page, which is the scheduler page, but they don't schedule a call, so they don't end up on the third page, which is the thank you page, I didn't have the data in between. Okay, they were coming to the landing page, they filled out the information, and then they got stuck at the second stage. Okay, why would I want to know that? Well, that's going to help me know which ads are actually calling in the right people. So once you get the right people to start filling out taking the action that you want them to, you're like, okay, which ad was doing that? What about that ad, in my case, apply it to your acquisition strategy. What about that ad like really got them to take that action? What motivated them to take that action? Because once you have more data, the solutions become more obvious, or the thing that you need to double down on and say, okay, this is working, becomes a lot more obvious. So if you don't have the data, you're shooting blankly at a whole bunch of different things to see what works and what doesn't. When you have the data, you're like, that's it, got it. I'm going to double down on this because this is what's working. So make sure you set up attribution tracking. Now, I'm not going to go into what attribution tracking is in this podcast because it's a little dry and a little bit more complex. But if you go on YouTube, you can watch a whole bunch of videos on attribution tracking. But I would just say make sure on any, like whatever funnel, whatever your journey is, that you have set up to know exactly what's happening at each stage. If you're having videos, make sure you have a way to track how long do people watch the videos. If you have multiple landing pages or pages that they need to go through, where are they dropping off? How long did they stay on the page? Like where were they looking on the page? The more data, again, the more data you have, the better. And so think about attribution tracking the next time you are running ads or doing whatever it is you're doing to get traffic to your website or to in an online sense. But essentially it's like tracking where did people come from. So if I'm running YouTube videos, they click on the YouTube video link, you could set up tracking to then see, they came from YouTube to the website. Got it. We're getting this much traffic from YouTube each month. That's attribution tracking, right? And you can do first click and last click attribution tracking. So first click is like, what was the first action they took to get over to my website? And then the last click attribution is, what was the last thing that they were doing before they took the actual action? So if they scrolled on your website for 3 or 4 minutes and the last page they were on was the pricing page before they bought from you, well, that makes sense. So then that way more people who view the pricing page are more likely to buy from us. So then let's go target those people with more ads. So that's when you have a bigger website and you have multiple pages. So the whole idea here is you want to start tracking every single page of the journey. So then that way you know where things are breaking, slowing down, or not converting at the level that they need to. And so as you do this more over time, you'll see, okay, I got the first part down, right? I got the ads down. Now they're going to the landing page. Okay, why aren't they going from the landing page to the scheduler? What's going on there, right? For me. And then, okay, I'm getting over to the scheduler. What's wrong from the scheduler to the thank you page that they booked the call, thank you page? What's wrong here that I need to fix if I need to? And you don't know that answer if you don't have the data. So I think those are the main points that I wanted to talk about for this podcast episode. Know your numbers, understand how you want to market, how you want to present yourself, what associations you want to have, or what associations you want to build with people who view your content or who view your business's content, depending on which one you're doing. And, as I continue to learn these things, I will continue to pass them on to you. I didn't go as much into the details on ads this week because I'm giving it a little bit of time. I'm testing out a lot of different things. I'm doubling down to see what works and then trying like minor variations to see if I get bumps and improvement. But once I come with more concrete conclusions, I'll definitely jump on here and let you know. So if you know anyone who could benefit from this information from my journey, go ahead and feel free to share this podcast. Let them know about it so they can, learn the lessons too and get a little bit more of an acceleration in their business growth or their entrepreneurial journey. So hopefully there was something you took away from here. And, I used to end the podcast episode with this. I'm going to go back to it, which is it's not enough just to learn. You have to also apply. So if you've listened through this whole entire podcast episode and you're here now at the end, try to see what can I apply from what Morgan just talked about in my life. And even if you're not a business owner, there could be something here that you're like, got it, it clicked in me, or I need to take a little mental note. Because if you just learn and if you just listened and you didn't apply, learning did not occur. So only when there's a change of behavior, only when there's a change in what you're doing on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, whatever your cycle time is, level, that's how you know when change occurred, when there's a change of behavior. So hopefully you took away something from this. Hopefully you're going to apply something. I'm challenging you right now to apply something to your life right when you get off from listening to this. So then that way you could be a better version of yourself for, whenever you stop doing this journey. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.